5G or fifth generation wireless is the latest in cellular network technology. It is engineered to increase the speed and responsiveness of wireless networks. 5G will allow a sharp increase in the amount of data that can be transmitted, ushering in a new dawn for the way information can be shared. For more on 5G, I'm joined now by Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, the University of Johannesburg's Vice-Chancellor. Professor Marwala, a very good morning to you. Thank you for your time. You have been doing a lot of research and writing around 5G, fifth generation technology, and you're saying that it's not something sinister as conspiracy theorists may have us believe. What are we missing? Where's the misunderstanding lying?
Thank you very much, Mpo, and to your listeners. I think any technology is going to have its own conspiracies. We know about the landing of the moon and what people believe. So I'm not surprised that there is stories like this, especially given the fact that 5G is a highly contested technology. There are genuine concerns about suppliers of equipment and whether people's security is going to be respected. But this one is more about espionage. And then you will have others talking about its impact on COVID. And those two things are absolutely not linked. So I guess any important technology is going to have its own detractors.
And in us getting a better understanding of 5G, what it is and how it works, what is it that needs to be understood, when it comes to what preceded 5G?
Well, I mean, 1G, a walkie-talkie probably is an example of 1G. That is when you use only voice to communicate. Then 2G, it was voice and SMS. You still remember the SMS, very, very popular usage during that time. 3G, now you could surf the internet. You could be able to view pictures and so on and send pictures. 4G, faster version of 3G. Now we're coming to 5G. So what happens is that you have all these transmitters that transmit the signal that you will hear. It might be a voice or it might be a video. And the difference between 4G and 5G is that 5G, you have many of these transmitters, and they are very much in our communities. So the density of these transmitters is actually higher for 5G than for 4G. And because of that, 5G is much, much faster than 4G. 4G is what you call LTE. We use LTE, all of us now. So for example, in 4G, you can be able to download a movie in about an hour. And with 5G, you will be able to do it in a matter of seconds, so which is actually quite exciting.
Now, as we begin to consider 5G in South Africa, we know that listening to President Cyril Ramaphosa's January 8th statement and some of the promises that he's made there is the acceleration of the rollout of 5G through allocation of high demand spectrum. I suppose it really is an important conversation now more than ever, the 5G uses as well as the links to coronavirus, because the pandemic has certainly presented unprecedented times where technology has come to the forefront.
No, absolutely. There's not really a link between 5G and coronavirus, but you can be able to use 5G to deal with issues of coronavirus. Things like track and tracing. You probably can be able to do it much, much faster using 5G technology. The issue of spectrum is very, very important. The minister last year actually issued policy guidelines on the issue of this spectrum. Unfortunately, there is a court case. I think Telkom has taken the ministry to court, ICASA to court, so that the distribution of spectrum is done in a way that they think it should be done. And this will obviously have an impact of delaying the rollout of spectrum. But I think it is very important for us to understand that 5G is very important and we need to implement it much more sooner. Because with 5G, you will be able to do things like telemedicine much more effectively than we have ever dreamt about. So somebody will be sitting in a village hospital, and a high-level doctor will be in Cape Town, and they will be able to supervise an operation remotely, even using robots, certainly because the reaction time that is going to result out of communication using 5G is going to be much quicker.
You keep emphasizing that there's certainly no link between 5G technology and coronavirus. And we've certainly watched the horror videos about some of the dangers of 5G, with concerns of it being the radio frequency radiation that's dangerous to human health. What is it that we need to understand when it comes to some level of danger, if ever?
Well, I mean, I think the radiation that you're dealing with in 5G is called, is actually it's not an ionizing radiation, it's non-ionizing. So ionizing radiation will be the radiation that you get from nuclear technology. Nuclear technology, we know that if you don't use it safely, it becomes very dangerous. It causes diseases such as cancers. But 5G, that radiation is non-ionizing, and I am not worried about that at all.
So what then do we need to do? I mean, you've mentioned the benefits and the advantages of having 5G technology. What do we need to do so that, as a country, we can emerge as participants in 5G? Because the world at large is moving at a speedy and a fast rate than us.
I think we should speed up the allocation of spectrum. I think we should speed up the understanding of the technology and what it can be able to do. We need to bring it to the people so that those, especially with business mindset, can start thinking about business opportunities that they can be able to pursue, to exploit 5G. I think we need to make sure that our infrastructure is ready, because whoever is going to be given spectrum will have to deploy new forms of infrastructure that is going to be able to make sure that our people are able to communicate. And I think most importantly, all of us must educate ourselves about this technology. We don't have to be experts, but we can be able to at least know the basics so that we cannot be prevented from exploiting this technology because of conspiracies that hold no basis.
But let's talk a little bit more in terms of what's happening globally and how other countries like the US and China are moving right ahead. And, China is ahead of the pack when it comes to 5G.
Absolutely. I mean, China is ahead of the pack. The United States, obviously, is a big technological economy, so they are not that far behind. And then we saw what happened in England, that the Americans pressurized the British to stay away from 5G technology from China. But the reason for that is all about the allegation is that it can be used for espionage. In other words, the equipment that are going to be deployed will have a backroom communication to whatever. And I think it's more than just the issue of security. I also think it's the issue of the economy as to who actually dominates this technology, because it is clear that whoever dominates this technology is going to reap the economic benefits for a very long time to come. Now, coming back to us here in South Africa and in the African continent, we have always been consumers of these technologies. I hope that someday, when we have sorted out our educational system, we will actually be able to start producing goods and services out of technologies, including 5G and 6G that is going to come after it, so that we can not just be participants, but active participants and benefit much more extensively from the economies that are going to flow out of this.
And very lastly, before we let you go, Professor Marwala, how realistic is the President's vision here and his promises that he made in the January 8th statement when it comes to the acceleration of the rollout of 5G?
I think that is actually quite genuine. I think government has moved with speed to make sure that guidelines are actually adopted. ICASA issued the guidelines last year, so everything is happening very fast. But obviously, there are other aspects that are beyond the control of government. For example, the fact that you have people who are challenging the guidelines of the issuing of the spectrum in the court of law. And we hope that the court processes are going to be expedited so that we can be able to bring this matter past us and exploit these technologies as it is being adopted.
Where do these challenges stem from when it comes to, ensuring that we are indeed on board and this vision can be realized?
Oh, look, I mean, spectrum is it's a resource, and what is going to happen is that it is going to be auctioned, and to be auctioned, the way the complaint that is stemming from Telkom is that the way it is structured is going to favor big traditional players, MTN, Vodacom, CLC. And there is quite a great deal of pressure that the ordinary man on the street probably should also benefit from the issuing of spectrum. So those are, the sort of things that you will get anytime there is any form of issuing of resource, whether it is the lottery, whether it is spectrum. You will always have things like this, and we just must have processes that are fast enough to be able to deal with all the complaints so that we cannot stall our economy.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights there, Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, the University of Johannesburg's Vice-Chancellor, saying that 5G is not such a bad idea.